maybe I'll talk a little bit about Gort. We opened that town. We were serving in Galway at the time, and it started when we were taking the bus somewhere, I think to a zone conference or something. And as missionaries, your mission president teaches you to speak with everyone, no matter where you are. And so we tried to do that, and that was difficult for me, but I was working on it. And we met this lady. I just sat next to her, and she was Brazilian, and I just tried to strike up a conversation. And I had taken a couple years of Spanish, and I knew Spanish and Portuguese was a little bit similar. So I know almost zero Spanish, but I just tried to communicate to her through broken Spanish and a little bit of English. And anyway, we actually were able to communicate a little bit, enough to get the point across that I was a missionary for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I had something in my hand called the Book of Mormon, and just other things like that. And we were able to set up a time with her. Well, she lived in Gort. And so we go and try and contact her, and then we meet more people. And this just kind of happens more and more until finally we asked the mission president, can we move there and get another set of missionaries in Galway? Because there's some stuff happening here. And we would like to focus on this. And he said, well, that would be fine. So we moved to kind of the quintessential Irish housing unit, if you will. Most of my places were, kind of dingy, apartments and whatever. But we found this small house in the countryside. It was the only place we could find. And so the neighbors had cows, and that was a really fun place to live. So anyway, we had an opportunity to open that town, and actually, we never did get a chance to meet and teach. Adriani was her name. This woman who I spoke to initially, that started the whole process. And it's interesting. This is something you'll find on your mission. Nothing you do ever dies. You always are planting a seed. Several years after my mission, 5 years actually, yeah, it was 5 years after my mission, I was on Temple Square for actually the missionary who I trained. I was his first companion, so he was brand new. I was at his wedding in the Salt Lake Temple, and I was there a little bit early, and so I was just walking around the grounds, just enjoying it as I waited for the wedding to begin. And some of the sister missionaries approached me, and we struck up a conversation. And of course, they asked, if I had any referrals for them. And at the time, I was serving as a ward mission leader in my ward, and so anyone that I knew, I had already referred or was working with the missionaries, because I met with the missionaries almost on a daily basis. So I really didn't. I was struggling to find anyone to refer to them. But they didn't give up, and they said, so, well, what about on your mission? Is there anyone that you met on your mission? Because we can call internationally here. And so I said, well, sure, and I pulled together, a big list of names, and I went through all my planners. And I probably had a list of somewhere 50 to 100 names that I sent to the sisters, and they called them. And I was surprised at how many not only remembered meeting missionaries, but actually remembered meeting me. And in particular, one of them was Adriani, who I spoke with once for about 5 minutes in broken Spanish and English on a bus from Galway to Gort. And she remembered me and accepted missionaries. I don't know what's happened since. That was somewhat recently that this happened. But I was just amazed that after a 5-minute conversation, she knew me by name and remembered that experience, and was willing to accept missionaries to visit her. So that was my experience in Gort. We tried to learn Portuguese. The way that Elder Groberg described learning Tongan was take an English Book of Mormon, take a Portuguese Book of Mormon, and just try and make something of it. So I learned almost no Portuguese, but we had some great members there who helped us.